I'd like to, first of all, explain a bit about what I do. I think for context, that will be helpful. So as you can see on the screen, there's a logo right here on my left. MetaHelm is a business design consulting firm that I run by myself. So I am a solo consultant. I also have a few other people that helps me in the background. Pranav is one of them, has had a very impactful role in the last year or so. And this company is my fourth one. So it is a very interesting one. It's the smallest one in number of people, but probably the biggest one in the impact and the importance it had in my life. It's also the oldest one because it will be 10 years next October. And this set the stage to some observations I've had over my journey through entrepreneurship, about 30 plus years. And also some observation I've had when I observed my ancestors, my parents, my uncles, my grandparents as entrepreneurs. It turns out nobody in my family had a job as an employee. Everyone was an entrepreneur. Everyone was also running a small shop. And since very early on, since I was a kid, I could listen to all their conversations and start making sense of these conversations. I was kind of swimming in the life of entrepreneurs with all the ups and downs that this represents. There were small businesses in France. One was a button factory. Where my grandparents were making buttons for the garment industry. Quite a commodity now, but at the time it was something that we could turn into something special when we made it out of wood or shell or other fine materials. On my aunt and uncle side, we had a chocolate shop, pastry chocolate shop, small boutique also, maybe 20 people that was operating in the north of Paris. My dad is a doctor, always ran his private practice just like a regular business. And I'm forgetting maybe a couple more. But one thing I always thought about when it came for me to find an occupation was, should I be an employee or should I be an entrepreneur? I tried employeurship, you say, versus entrepreneurship. I don't know if there's such a word, for a few years, and it didn't quite work. Why? Is because I was too compelled to go explore the unknown. And something I realized is that when you are an entrepreneur, a couple things I observed. First of all, entrepreneurs don't like risk. That's a big myth. We see entrepreneurs as risk takers, people who like to put themselves in a situation where risk is their thing, and I disagree. In fact, there is research, there's data on this. I won't show it to you right now, but you could look it up. And if you catch the language in when you talk to communities of entrepreneurs and investors, we are all about reducing risk. We're all about reducing risk. There are different areas of entrepreneurship, but basically, if I want to simplify, there are two buckets. There are two things two types of journeys. The first journey consists of venturing in an area that has been already explored. That's where things are known. And that was the case for some of my relatives. My aunt and uncle were running a chocolate shop, and they were doing the same thing that probably hundreds or maybe thousands of chocolate shops in France were doing. They could have bought a playbook. In fact, they were passed on a playbook by, I think, my uncle's dad, who also ran a chocolate shop, and his cousins, who all ran a chocolate shop. So at the time they were navigating. So if they were sailors, they were navigating the area of of known entrepreneurship. But at some point, they decided to venture, a little bit out here on the edge towards this territory that is the unknown, the world of possibilities. That's a territory where you invent what doesn't exist. You create. You go there because you see something out on the horizon, out in the world that you probably maybe have in your mind's eye, that you're dreaming about, but you can't tell quite exactly what it is. When people ask you what it is and what's your vision, you make up something. You make up something because maybe you heard that's what you need to be doing as an entrepreneur. Maybe that's the only playbook that you have, is that, if somebody asks you what you do and what's your vision, come up with something. But deep inside, you don't really know. Well, that's my case. I navigate here in this territory all the time. And if I look at the ventures that I started or those I joined, when I told you I had, I was wondering if I wanted to be an entrepreneur. For me, I wanted to be this kind of entrepreneur. I use the word I wanted. In fact, I don't know if I really wanted. I turned out to be this kind of entrepreneurs, launching companies that create software that, were very hypothetical, quite bad also. Creating a consulting firm with methodologies that, nobody had heard before. And yet again, this is where I am with MetaHelm today. I'm in the world of the possibilities. I'm in the world of the unknown. I'm in the white space. And what happens when you're there? So this is where I am, possibilities. What happens where you are there is that because you don't have a map, it's uncharted territory, you can only, revert to what you have, who you are, your resources, your ideas, what you have in the moment. And yet what we hear is that, again, to be successful there, we have to have some kind of a plan. The only plan that my clients have when they navigate this world is that they have a dream. And that dream is here. Usually, it consists of two simple things. They want to make money. They want to make a profit. They want a business that thrives. And they want to do what they love. They want to do that while having a balanced life, doing the work that they enjoy, not losing themselves in the middle. This is the desire. It's called profit and love. This is where we thrive to go. Well, now this has maybe many definitions for you. It has, it's up to who you are. Maybe you have your version of this. Maybe there are phases during which you say, no, I only care about money. And phases and seasons in your entrepreneurship life during which you go, no, I just want to do what I love. I don't care if I make money. Money will come. Money is not important in the moment. But the reality is that when you're an entrepreneur, you suddenly, draw these little sailboat here. You're just like a navigator. You have to have hope. You have to have motivation and passion. But you still have to have enough wind and enough food to carry the journey. So when you're here, what I see all the time is this. Well, figure out what this means for you, and then from there, build a plan. Align your resources. Go there. Start with your why. Start with your purpose. Start with the reason, the deep reason why you wanted to do this work. And that is a message I heard. I heard it again. I watched it again in 2008 in a famous talk by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. And I really believed in this. I really believed that, okay, this would be my North Star. This would be really, what's going to get me out of trouble when I navigate these waters of possibilities where, I really, really get stuck sometimes. So I started looking for my why. And in 2026, even with MetaHelm, I started to look for the why of MetaHelm. I couldn't find it. And still today, MetaHelm, with my solo business, generates enough profit for me and my family to live, very well, and generates the kind of work that I really love doing. It's not perfect every day, but for the most part, I feel like I'm getting closer to profit and love. So if I have that sense that I am navigating in a different direction that is satisfying, and I still can't really articulate my why, how do I do this? What's going on? In fact, in asking other people, we think the journey is going to be like that. We launch and we go, great, I'm here, point A and B, and I'm going to get there. And to get there, I'm going to borrow the thought leaders playbooks. I'm gonna watch all those gurus videos, make 7 figures in 90 days. I'm going to buy yet this other workbook or apply this and this theory. These are helpful, but just to a certain degree. In fact, sometimes they tend to get in the way because these are not yours. And remember, these work very well when things are known. It's easy to tell you what the path is when you've already been there. Just like for my family members, my relatives, it was easy for them to run or build a business that other people had already built. We always get mired by the zone of the known because, again, we don't like risk. We are creatures of, where we're drawn to certainty and control. And there's nothing wrong with that. So what to do instead? What to do instead of that? That's the reality. This didn't take a very long research project. This is just observation over the last 30 years. My journey looked more like this. Starting a new business and trying this direction, going a little bit to the west, like this, coming back, not really making progress, and maybe, trying again, looking for more options, making progress again. All right, I'm learning something here. I'm getting there, but oh my gosh, big mistake. Getting investors in my company. Ooh, lost the control of the company. Lost the company. Back to square one. That was the company number 2, Content Europe. All right, let's try this again. You get the point. That's more what a typical entrepreneurial journey looks like. Maybe if we're lucky, before the end of our lifetime, we get closer to profit and love. This is the dilemma that all my clients have to deal with. They're all B2B innovators who are there to launch something that nobody has ever seen, ever created before, and they don't have a playbook. So the only option we have together to discover that path is to go step by step. And instead of starting with why, is to start with what? It's a much more realistic promise, a much more effective one. Why? Because when you start with what, you don't have to make up shit. You don't have to be a pro at predicting what the future will be like. You just focus on what you have now and what you're going to do today. Maybe this week, maybe this month. But the further out you try to predict, the less true you might end up with. So you're going to tell me, okay, start with what? What, Guillaume? Let me give you some example. Start by learning and exploring to explain what you do. This is the starting point. What do you do? This is the number one question that my clients ask me to help them figure out. I can't say what I do. I'm not too sure because yet again, I'm in this uncharted territory. So how do I approach that? Well, this is how we go about it. We enter this loop. This loop is really how all human beings operate to make sense of something. We start by doing something, and then at some point we stop, and what we do is that we observe. We observe. We look back because action is followed by meaning. I should say meaning follow action. Why we do things and what should be next can only be found after we've done something, right? If you ask me, well, why did you start 4 companies? If you had asked first, or why did you start this company or that company? If you had asked me around 2005, I would have said, I don't know, just because my relatives did it, so I kind of want to do it also the way they did it. So this is the process. First we do something, then we observe, then we connect the dots. We look for patterns, we look for solutions, we sort what worked and what didn't, and then we take this and we determine what's the next best step. That's the process of start with what. So when we explore a question like, what do you do? Well, I ask, I don't know. What did you do? Tell me about a client example. Tell me about something you fixed. Tell me about what happened when you told yourself you were going to start this business. And then we observe. It doesn't take very long sometimes. It's a sort of a therapy also a little bit. It's a lot of talking, it's a lot of writing, it's a lot of drawing as well. And we have countless opportunities to explain what we do with a company. We can do it verbally, we can do it on a website, we can do it in many places that are really, really important for a business. This process here is called the narrative process. It's a process that has been widely documented, published in books about what's called the narrative, about narrative therapy, narrative psychology. So that's what we do here at MetaHelm. We apply this process to start with what? To figure out the next best step. I just walked you through the first question, but I have 11 of them. I have 11 questions that you can go through, that you can find on my website. Okay, let's see here. 3, 6, 9, 10, and 11. So if you find them, these are the 12 areas that you can use to explore what to do with your business, what to do to get to profit and love. Don't start with why. Start with what today. And good luck.